Hey, unlike some of my other videos lately, this video has no deep emotional underpinnings or any kind of life lessons. This is just something I did the other day. I got this old mahogany runabout, a speedboat. It was built in the early 60s and I want to keep it as simple as possible. You know, it has no electricity. I have an old two-stroke engine with the rope start. The steering is with just rotating cables, an old-fashioned way. I like the simplicity of it and sort of the simple nature. However, every spring I gotta do a little maintenance. First of all, I gotta sand it. I don't sand it all the way to the wood, but I need to break the surface and then I put a new varnish on. Two layers. By the way, everybody always asks me, isn't that a lot of work to do? And I guess we wooden boat owners, we want to give an impression that it takes a lot of work to maintain a wooden boat, but it actually isn't bad. It just makes us look better at the marina. So now I do a little bit varnish. I paint it underneath anti-fouling paint to make sure that nothing grows underneath of it. It has also a narrow white stripe going around the boat, and I paint that every now and then to make it look a bit more white and shiny. It's a job you gotta do every year. This year I wanted to make it a little bit more interesting for me, so I thought I'm gonna take a few pictures of me maintaining the boat and that maintenance session, just, for the heck of it. I took my Mamiya to do the job. I don't use this camera as much as I should. This is a really neat TLR, twin lens reflex camera. Maybe one of the most versatile because it has interchangeable lenses. I don't know any other dual lens camera systems other than these Mamiyas, that way you can change the lenses. It also has the bellows, meaning that you can extend this really wide, and it means that you can focus really close to the macro territory. You can really make nice close-up pictures with this. This is good for portraits, close-ups. If you change a wide-angle lens, landscape, really versatile. However, there's one thing missing that almost all the other dual lens cameras have, but this doesn't. And it's a self-timer. I guess they didn't make that for people who like themselves, like myself, who wants to take selfies. There's no self-timer. I found this thing on eBay. This is a universal self-timer that you can put to any camera that has a standard cable release hole. When you do it, that you engage this, there's a spring inside of it. And when you release it, it pushes a little rod out, and that rod presses the shutter release inside your camera. Pretty much the same mechanism you would have with the cable release. So you put it there, then you cock the shutter of your camera, and then when you are ready, you let it run, and it takes pictures like this. The only thing that is a little bit worrying is that this is really a powerful thing. The spring is really powerful, so I'm sometimes worried that I might break the camera with this, especially the cameras that feel more fragile, like my Kiev 60. I think this has so much more power that Soviet iron is supposed to take that it will break it. But with Mamiya this seems to be fine. I took a few pictures like this. So then the next day I took the boat on a lake for a test run. I mean, there's a lot of things to test. First of all, it's a wooden boat, so every time you put it on a lake for the first time in the spring, it's gonna leak. But you don't want to experience any kind of Titanic moments, so you want to make sure that the leaks are manageable. So when you do your first run, you pay attention to all kind of things. You pay attention to the engine. I mean, how does it run? Is everything okay? Does it get enough gas? You know, all those kind of things. But I also wanted to photograph that first boating session, but there was no time and mental capacity for me to concentrate on two things at the same time. I'm a man. So I needed a camera that really can take all the mental and intellectual burden out of my photography and just take pictures. So for that I took my Lomo LCA 120. This is an amazing camera and I've learned to love it. First I hated it because it is fully automatic. And you can't change that. You can't put it on a manual mode. You don't even know what time or aperture it uses. It just chooses those things by itself and keeps the information to itself. It doesn't reveal it to the photographer. The only two things you can set is an ISO, and then there is a rudimentary 4-step distance lever here where you can, I guess, sort of focus. But the focusing is not so important with this camera because it's a wide-angle lens. It is the same aspect ratio that I have in my Hasselblad super wide. And the lens is also not maybe as good as my Hasselblad, but still pretty awesome. When I first got this camera, I thought, this is a crazy combination, a very nice lens with a, you know, two automatic camera. Because I sort of wanted it to be versatile manual camera that I can do all my tricks. But it isn't. It's a point and shoot camera. This is pretty much the alternative for us who want to shoot medium format yet have the simplicity of a point and shoot. An ultimate tourist camera. It is very light. It's easy to take with you. Has a light, you know, the lens cover inbuilt and it locks itself when you close it. Very nice, fits almost into your pockets, depending on your pants and on your pockets. Extremely nice. And for that boat trip where I needed to focus on the boat, not on photography, this was an ultimate choice. I took pictures like this. Hey, by the way, I already made a video about this Lomo earlier. I put the link to the description page, and also I think I made a video about TLRs and spoke a little bit about my Mamiya. So I put a link down there too, so if you want to get a little bit deeper. Now, what are the learnings? I mean, I always want to come up with some kind of a conclusion in the end. So maybe the first one is that if you got a tedious task to do, something that you don't really enjoy, but you gotta do it, maybe you can spice it up with taking a few pictures while you are doing it. I mean, turn it into a photo session and make it a little bit more interesting. At least to me, I found that oddly amusing to take some pictures while sanding my boat and painting it. The other one, maybe more important learning for me, is that if you got a camera, don't fight it. It is what it is, and try to use the best of it the way it was intended. Now, this shouldn't be anybody's only camera. This is too limited for that, and the lack of all manual is obviously a shortcoming. But if you really, take it the way it is and cherish and use the automatic nature of this is an ultimate leave your brains at home camera. You don't really need to think about it. You just point and shoot. And yet, it is a medium format camera, and yet the lens is extremely good. So maybe it is not the combination of good lens and a bad camera. Maybe this is a combination of a good lens and an interesting point and shoot camera. That's what I'm thinking nowadays. I take this with me fairly often. Hey, it's sometimes really refreshing to think about photography as a secondary activity, as something you do as an afterthought. There's nothing wrong with that. See you later.